Okay, we turned on right now. Let's see. All right.
And action.
Action. Wait a minute. Let me turn that up. So we're not looking at ourselves.
Oh,
Okay.
what a scam.
No. Are you ready?
And
here we go.
Action.
Action. Welcome,
Take two.
everyone. Welcome, everyone. This is issue 11 of our video newsletters. And I'm Dr. Neil Mathews.
And I'm not.
It's
funny every time.
Every
time.
Coming from our studio deep within the heart of the Back Care Professionals Chiropractic Office in the
this is Studio D, by the way. Studio D.
In the storage room.
We have multiple studios.
Which is, yes, we do. We have multiple studios.
Yes.
And this one just happens to be our mobile studio, which is in the storage room.
Move, but what the heck.
Yes. Okay. Welcome, and so for issue 11, we have a couple articles, and the first one is, what exercises should I do? And we have
that's a good question. I've often asked you that.
What exercises should I do?
Yes.
And there's a subtitle to this.
Whoa.
It is, gee, Doc, I just broke my arms. Should I increase my weights on my bicep curls to make it heal faster? Which sounds like a silly question, doesn't it? You wouldn't.
No, I would probably go heavier.
Yeah, probably. You wouldn't put heavy weights and exercise with a broken arm.
Doesn't that help your arms heal faster, though?
No,
resistance?
Well, not at all if it's broken when there's a problem.
This is sad, very sad.
And we get a lot of patients asking, when they hurt themselves, they come in and they ask us, what exercise can I do to make this heal up faster? And during the acute stage, you don't want to really exercise an area that's injured. And what you want to do is wait for it to become subacute or when the pain starts to go away. And that's when you can start to utilize the exercises to make that area stronger. And we can give you those exercises as you go along, but I wouldn't start anything. But if you do want to start an exercise program, once you start to feel better, probably the best exercise you can do is to go out and walk.
Don't run. Because that was a song. It was an instrumental, really, by the Ventures in 1964.
Okay.
Carry on.
I don't think I can now. I've
lost
where I was.
Yes,
don't walk. Yes. So walking exercise, which is very, very good for you, and it's cheap because all you need to go out and do is buy a pair of good sneakers, and you don't have to belong to a gym. And if you can start off walking about 5-10 minutes a day, do that 5 days a week, work up to about a half an hour, 40 minutes, and you'll be in pretty good shape.
Be in great shape in no time.
And walking will help actually strengthen the muscles of the lower part of the back, help increase your endurance, prevent heart disease and all that fun stuff.
Toe problems? Well, it might. It could. It could.
And toe problems, very important.
Right.
And what happens if your toe breaks down?
Yes. If that happens, what should we do?
Well, what should we do?
We should
call
a tow truck.
Yeah.
Funny every time.
It is.
It is.
Okay. So
just to summarize, if you have an acute injury. Now, that injury is very interesting, by the way, because that's usually the injury that all the other injuries want to go out with, the cute injury.
Yes.
That's a new one, by the way.
And I only went out with cute injuries.
You're darn right. Not the subacute ones.
No. Yeah, you don't want a subacute injury because that...
Unless it's really late at night.
But after, to summarize, after you're done your walking program for a while and you're starting to get good shape, that's when you can start to introduce the other heavier type exercises like weightlifting, which is very good, or Pilates.
Oh, Pilates. Yes.
And aerobics and Zumba and all the others.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful
that's
people.
Article 1 of our video
Article
newsletter.
1. That's right.
And the next article is a continuation.
This is a continuing adventure
of your
trip to Santa Monica, California.
And this one is called A Night in Nebraska,
which seemed to last about 7, 8, 9, 10 nights in Nebraska. Luckily, it was only one. And this is day 2 of our adventure with Kent and I hitchhiking to California. And the previous day, when my father dropped me off at Kent's house, he, of course, never believed that we were actually going to be going to California. I think his last words to me that day were, "See you tonight." But Kent and I made sure they didn't see us that night. So the first day, we made it all the way to actually outside Chicago. We'll probably have to put that in one of the newsletters too, because that was an interesting adventure. But day 2 dawns, and here we are in the Hawkeye state of Iowa.
Iowa.
Iowa. Iowa.
Well,
Wow,
my
he knew that
geography.
right
Yeah,
away. Yes.
I do know that. The Hawkeyes.
The Hawkeye. Very
Yeah,
good. Yes.
They're from Iowa.
Right. There you go. Okay.
Right.
So we must be
May
in
I
Iowa.
interrupt? I'm going to interrupt for just a
Whoa.
moment. And since this is your story, I will do some video interpretations as you
Whoa,
go along.
very good.
To help people
Understand.
Yeah.
In
this
case there's
crucial,
a problem with the sound.
crucial
'cause there
information
could
that
be.
you get. Go ahead.
So Kent and I wake up in Iowa, and it is I still remember what a beautiful day it was in Iowa. It was incredible sunshine. It was nice and warm. The people were friendly as can be. We think we're on top of the world because it's day 2 and we're already in Iowa. So we start on our journey. And the only thing that's around us at that time is cornfields, and I think more cornfields. And as we hitchhike through, probably the biggest problem we have is hay fever. So hachoo, hachoo.
Oh, achoo.
So we end up having to actually buy a product called Allerest. If you guys are old enough to remember Allerest, you may be as old as me, because I don't think they make it anymore, but I think for $3.25 we got a bottle of Allerest. So we continue on our journey through Iowa, and we end up getting a ride with the fellow who picks us up, and we say, he asked us where we're going. We go California. We said, well, where are you going? He says he's going to Nebraska. Now, Kent and I are not geography majors by any sense, but we both figure out that, Nebraska's probably west of Iowa. Let's get in and go with this guy. So we get in and we're going into Nebraska. We drive the whole rest of the day with this fella. He takes us pretty deep into Nebraska, and then he's turning off somewhere. He goes home somewhere. But anyway, he drops us off on a highway in the middle of Nebraska. Our first take of Nebraska as we look around is how flat Nebraska is. I don't think there was anything except flatness all around us. But there were many cattle ranches as we started to look around and got our bearings, that there was just flat cattle ranches all over the place. Kind of interesting, kind of impressive. And as the day started to wear on, it started to get later and later in the day. And Kent and I said, well, maybe this is a good place for us to just throw our sleeping bags out in the median between the 2 highways. So if any car was going one way or the other way, we could jump up and just see where they were going. So as we go to lay our sleeping bags down, we see headlights off in the distance. So hold on, Ketby, before we lay our stuff down, let's wait and see what happens. So a car eventually gets there, pulls over and stops. It's an older station wagon. We jump in the back seat and they start taking off. And we look to see who's driving in the front seat. To our amazement, there are 2 12-year-old girls in this car, one driving and one in the passenger seat. And interestingly enough, they are both drunk on their butts, just driving around fast as can be on the highways of Nebraska. So as we start to engage them in conversation, one of the things we bring up is, aren't you a little worried about, being pulled over and arrested by the police? They both laugh at that one, and we go, well, what's so funny about that? So one of them turns around and goes, well, our father owns this land. And we're like, well, what do you mean by that? So it turns out that their father owns 40,000 acres out there of cattle ranch. And the deal with the police, it seems, is that as long as they stay driving on their property, no one touches them. So they're free to go back and forth on 40,000 acres. So as long as they're going west, we're happy to go with them.
The drinking age was 12 then, wasn't it?
The drinking age must be
That was
very
back
young
in there,
out in Nebraska, because they were not inhibited at all about chugging beers in the front seat. So as we go on, it gets a little bit later. Kent and I fall asleep, of course, because we're pretty tired by now. And as we start to bounce around on one of the side roads in Nebraska, I pop my little head up and go, hey, wait a minute. I know this is not the road we were on before. I don't know where we are, but I know we're not on the right road. So I say, stop this car. So the driver jams on the brakes. So Kent and I, he's awake now, we jump out. I reach back to get my sleeping bag. The girl who's driving hits the gas and almost breaks my arm. So my sleeping bag is probably still in her car from that. But they take off, and now we're out in the middle of, once again, nowhere.
Nowhere in Nebraska.
Nowhere in Nebraska. I don't think it's anywhere around anywhere in Nebraska.
Never been there myself.
No, but it's dark and it's cold. And we're trying to figure out for our next trick, what do we do here? We only have one sleeping bag now. So as we figure, well, we may as well just lay out Kent's sleeping bag. Let's go to sleep here. In the morning, we'll get up and figure out where we are and keep going. So as we start to lay out Kent's sleeping bag, I see lights way off in the distance. I go, Kent, hold everything. This could be another ride for us. Thank gosh, because it is freezing and the mosquitoes are having a feast on us also, by the way. So I'm just watching the lights, and the lights are pretty far off, but as I see them getting closer and closer, I go to Kent. As if you were Kent, I would say, hey, Kent, I think something's wrong with this car. And you would say, what? Or what do you mean?
Oh, what do you mean?
I said, I don't think the car's on the road.
I didn't reverse my line.
Okay, just, yeah, good. And you would go, what do you mean by that? And I would say, Kent, I don't think this car is on the road. And as it comes closer and closer, it's not on the road. It's actually on the median, headed directly for us, flying who knows how fast, but it's coming our way fast. And at about the last second, I go, Kent, grab your stuff because we got to get out of here real fast. At that instant, the car hits the brakes, and two of the brightest spotlights I've ever seen pop on. And they pop on, and they not only do they blind you, but they disorient you. You have no idea where you are and what's going on. So we're trying to figure out what the heck this is on top of where we are while we're freezing. And we hear a very unfriendly voice say, who are you and what are you doing here? We can't even see who's talking to us, but we hear a voice go, who are you and what are you doing here?
Was it God?
It could have been.
No, okay.
I better jot that down. It could have been God. That's right.
Okay.
So we go, we're hitchhiking we tell him who we are, our names, and we say we're hitchhiking to California. We're from New Jersey. He doesn't seem to believe us and says, I'm going to ask you again, who are you and where are you from? We're Ken and Jeff. We're from New Jersey. We're trying to hitchhike to California. We have no idea where we are. So anyway, after a few seconds, who knows how long, the lights finally go out. Now we can see a state trooper car. And he says, get over here. So we go flying over there. And he says, get in the car. Thank gosh he did, because it was freezing, as we said. So we jump in the back of the state trooper's car, where it's pretty darn warm. And we're just happy to be in there. He jumps in and says, okay, tell me who you are and what are you doing here?
Because he can't believe you're from New Jersey.
Same story. Yes, I don't know what he doesn't
thought you were
believe.
an escapee from New Jersey.
Yes.
So that's, everybody just leaves New Jersey.
And escapes to Nebraska?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fact?
No.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Kind of like that radio station you were telling me about before.
That's right. The FDA.
The FDA
radio
does not really have a radio station that we know of anyway.
He looked it up.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
So anyway, we're handing our driver's license to the state trooper. He's plugging his information in there. So eventually he does believe we are who we say we are and that we're hitchhiking to California. He, of course, adds, oh, by the way, it's illegal to hitchhike on interstates in Nebraska, and I should take you boys in. So now we're thinking, this may not be so good after all. We're going from a warm car maybe to a jail somewhere in Nebraska. But then he adds, but I'm not going to do that. He says, I'm just going to give you a warning. I'm going to send a warning out to all state troopers. So if you get caught again on an interstate, you will be arrested. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to a truck stop. And from there, it's up to you boys to get out of Nebraska any way you can. So we take off in his state trooper car, and we're going, who knows where we're going. But he finally finds a truck stop, pulls in, opens the doors. However, he pops the doors open. They pop open. He says, okay, get out. And his last friendly words to us were, now get out of Nebraska. So now we have to figure a way to get out of Nebraska from a truck stop. And we look around, and there are cowboys all over, true cowboys. And they're all going in and out of this bar at the truck stop. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to get a ride. So Kent just starts walking up to these guys and going, hey, man, how about a ride? And I'm going, Kent, I don't think you should phrase it like that. But sure enough, one of the guys goes, well, I'm taking my truck to Denver. If you guys want to ride, go jump in there. So we're like, okay, we'll jump in there. He says, I'll be back after I have a few beers in the bar. I guess he needed a few for the road. To be continued.
Ooh. Very good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for the next chapter.
Installment. Coming up in our next episode, issue 12.
Whoa.
That's right after 11.
Wow. That's with new math, though.
That's right. And thank you for joining us at
WBCP. Yes.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. That was a little more.
Well, at least I wasn't doing this. I was trying to. That looks so unprofessional.